Hey, it's Kieran. I'm gonna tell you on my testimony video because I never got to finish in Alaska. I shortened it, summarized it because I didn't feel like doing very little stuff. Well, it starts when I was 14 years old. I lived with my mom. My parents are divorced, so um, I got evicted from three different houses where I was living because my mom was on drugs with her boyfriend, and her boyfriend abused her most of the time, and I had to defend her and defend my brother and defend anybody who was living at the house at the time. And at 14 years old, it's a real struggle in the real world when you see the things that go on around you. At 14 years old, we got evicted from our third house, and we lived with somebody in an alleyway that I guess my mom knew. I don't know who they were. We didn't have food. We didn't have clothing. I had to go steal my own clothes from Walmart and anywhere else that had clothes that I could get. I had to steal food from the dollar store. I had to steal things, steal from other people, which today I'm not that person. I'm not that person at all. Like, I hate stealing because now that I bought my own things, I have pride in those things. You know, when I stole things, it was just there. It was just an object. But when I pay for them, it feels so much different, and you feel a pride, you feel enjoyment from buying your own stuff. When I was 14, I went to parties and I would like to hang out with girls and, do the typical teen thing. But, I did things that I shouldn't have. I got drunk, I got high all the time. I felt a void in my heart that, God could have filled at that time, but I just didn't open my eyes and realize what God had in store for me. I just kind of looked at God as an object, really. Just the things that He has done for me now. I wish I would have realized that back then. But there's nothing I wouldn't change about my past because my past brought me here. You know. Um, at 14 years old, as 2 years progressed, I lived with my dad, or I called my dad on the day that I was finally done, finally gave up, finally hit rock bottom, and felt like I was nothing else. Felt like nothing else could happen that would hurt me unless I killed myself. I, in that time I was depressed. I cut myself. I cut myself for a long time just because I couldn't talk to nobody because I couldn't feel like nobody was listening to me. But when I was 16, I moved in with my dad. Um, which when I moved in with my dad, I had no discipline. I had nobody that disciplined me, so I felt like I could do what I wanted. Well, when I moved in, I got discipline from my dad, which I completely thank you for now, because I wouldn't be the person I am today if it wasn't for you and God. Um, my 16th year, when I turned 16, I went on my first youth camp, and I realized God for the first time. I realized that He can change people, and I had to realize this then, is that when you pray, God doesn't answer it whenever you want Him to. He answers it when He wants to. And it was really hard to do because it was really hard to understand things at that time because I thought God worked in different ways in the way I wanted Him to, but that's not how God works. He works in different ways, and people don't seem to get that nowadays. I realize that God does change people, not just because of me, but other people around me at my church that I see. They're not the same person that they were, as they said at the beginning of their testimony. I had to do drugs, and I had to resort to alcohol and hurting myself to fill a void in my heart, to fill that emptiness that I had inside my heart. I had to fill it with girls, with marijuana, with alcohol, just any type of thing I could get my hands on was there, so that way I could get rid of it all. And it was a real struggle for me for 2 years to realize that God does change people. I went to church every Sunday and every Wednesday, sat in the front row, listened to my youth pastor, listened to my Sunday morning pastor, and I had to listen to God. I had to listen to what God wanted me to do. And, I had to steal from people. Now I don't have to. And, and like, one of the greatest things is finding out that God is listening to me and finding out that God cares for me. And now I don't have to feel that emptiness inside my heart anymore. Because no matter what the struggle is that you go through in life, I promise you, you're not the only one sitting there thinking, oh, I wish there was somebody here listening to me. You know, you feel alone. But if you just look up and pray to God and say, I'm ready for you to take over my life. I'm ready for you to control my life. I'm ready for you to do the things that I'm willing to do for you. So, and like, you just open your arms and open your heart to God. And don't second guess it, you know, just go with it. And you let God fill you up. You let Him do His work in you. And you continue to walk in faith with God. You read the scriptures every day. You pray. And you just continue to walk in faith. Continue to do the things that God has called you to do. You know, this year, God called me to go on my first missions trip to Delta Junction, Alaska. Which, you know, at first I didn't think about meeting friends. Didn't think about meeting anybody. Didn't think it was meant to happen. And it really was, you know. I got there, I met a bunch of awesome people, a bunch of awesome friends, and I wouldn't have it any other way without my youth group. I'm going to give a shout out to Ben, to Lena, to Lizzie, to Tim, to all you guys that out there in Delta Junction. Y'all are some of the greatest people I've ever met in my life, and y'all will forever impact my life. You know, and y'all really helped me continue to build my relationship with God. You know, continue to build me up, and I hope and pray that anytime y'all need prayer, I'm listening, or I'm here. It doesn't matter if you feel like you're alone, I'm here. And so my testimony ends there, you know. Thanks, guys.